When Luke Sullivan was introduced in Street Fighter V, the character and details relating to him were a reflection of American or even European trends as well as interpretations of martial arts of the late 2010s and early 2020s. However, through the many decades of related games, there have been technically multiple characters to be affiliated with the brand of Street Fighter. But the speculative scenario is this: why did Capcom make Luke the modern face of Street Fighter? The entire trend of martial arts being brought into popular culture within the United States dated back to the early 2000s, as it was known as a slow movement that gained popularity through different forms of entertainment or casual knowledge for the general population. In other regions of the world, martial arts or combat-based ideologies are a deep and integrated part of the respected cultures. But through media, there became a casual acceptance of martial arts, or in particular the globalized adaptations of different related styles or techniques of separate martial arts into mixed martial arts, which would eventually lead to Capcom creating Luke Sullivan as a representation of MMA from the United States and even Europe during the era of Street Fighter V. What casual gamers or casual fans of Street Fighter don't necessarily know is that through the decades of Street Fighter, according to lore and installments of the franchise, there were multiple characters to be the purported face for the franchise, or to have an emphasis on the said character, or characters even, for a period of time to shift focus of the overall story of Street Fighter to different points of view to keep the premise of the games interesting for casual as well as loyal fans. According to lore and details, Ryu was the first generation of Street Fighter, and one of the most iconic characters ever conceived for the franchise. Through the stories of the games, Sakura Kasugano was one of the second generation representatives for the Street Fighter series. This was reinforced through events of the Street Fighter Zero installments of the games and even Street Fighter 3 The Next Generation. With Street Fighter 6 being released in 2023, it marked a number of years, even decades, from the original Street Fighter originally released in 1987. So there was a then literal new generation affiliated with the games. All of this culminated for the importance of Luke by Capcom. Theories and discussions of the time had it that through the games, Capcom intentionally had characters bring casual attention to the franchise. In order to introduce new gamers to the series and to keep older gamers interested in the then current events for Street Fighter, Capcom knew how important Ryu was to the essence of Street Fighter and was important to not completely abandon Ryu's place in the Street Fighter lore. Even further explanations had Ryu as the main character of the Street Fighter story, with each main installment having a minor character as the representation of the franchise when each game was first released. So according to this theory, goes with Ryu being the main focus for Street Fighter 1, Guile being for Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3 being Alex, Street Fighter 4 being Abel, Street Fighter 5 being Rashid, and Street Fighter 6 being Luke. So opinions were Luke being a focus character more so than a single installment, since Luke's first appearance was in 5, as one of the final characters released, and Capcom increased focus on him for 6. However, the difference is that Capcom made 6 to have some of the most diverse Street Fighters up until that time, appealing to cultural, generational, and ethnic changes in the United States and Europe from the early 2020s. Luke was the first character players encountered in the story mode and gives players a scope into the then new world of Street Fighter. This was all intentional by Capcom once again. Luke's entire appearance showed off traits of the next generation in 6, from the hooded sleeved sweatshirt with MMA gloves to his entire look, which was consolidated from his introduction in 5 to a more appealing and interesting focus for 6.